Well, here we are. It is Friday, February 10th, 2023, and this is the weekly video. We do these every Friday. We talk about prices from the past week and what's been going on, what's coming up in auctions, what the results have been over on eBay and live auctioneers and other places. But before I get into it, there was, as many of you know, there's a little bit of a kerfuffle going on over a video we did yesterday, or the day before yesterday, a couple days ago, on Rob Michaels sales coming up in over in Bruges. And in particular, it has to do with a garlic neck Wanli marked vase. And in the video, when I talked about it, I expressed real doubts about its age and authenticity. And there's been a lot of blowback since, and I have my reasons for why I think that, and as every dealer and collector does when they approve of or disapprove of something. But a lot of people are absolutely convinced the vase is fine, and a lot of people are not convinced at all that it is fine. And this is simply the nature of this business. It reminds me of the issue that happened years ago with the Bainbridge vase on a much larger scale that sold for $50 million at an auction, didn't get paid for, and there was this very big debate back and forth between very knowledgeable people in the trade that some people thought it was authentic, many people thought it wasn't authentic. Famously, Jim Lally came out and said he thought the piece was a copy and he had no faith in it. And Colin Sheaf at Christie's, or now at Bonham's rather, brokered a sale for the piece once it wasn't paid for. Both believed it was okay, all right? But, well, one thought it was okay and one thought it wasn't, is what it amounted to. And that debate continues on today. And what I'm showing in front of you right now are a series of garlic neck vases with Wanli marks. All right, there's 10 of them here, and 3 of them are authentic, and 7 of them are not. And telling which is a very, very difficult thing. And I think part of the problem, to give a little help to Rob here on this, is that the vase for some reason was excessively cleaned apparently, because Rob sent me a picture of what the vase looked like before and what it looks like now. And the cleaning that they did obliterated any age or patina, basically, that the piece has. Porcelains don't get patinas typically, and when you remove all of its history from the bottom, you're not doing the piece any favors. It's sort of like sanding down a well-patinated piece of furniture. You don't do that. And in this case, it looks like maybe they steam cleaned it or used some sort of heavy chemical, so it made the bottom look brand new, as it does. And it is not particularly in keeping, in my mind, with what the footrims of Wanli vases should look like. I don't see any areas where it's polished down from being on a surface for many, many, many years. That smoothness that occurs all the way around these things, and so forth. Now, is it possible that it stood unevenly for many, many years? Yeah, it is possible. But the bottom line is that my opinion of it is based on the colors, the way the mark is done, the glaze, and how the elements are drawn, how the cobalt is done. I don't agree with Rob on this. Some of you may agree with him on it, and that's what makes a horse race. All right. So just to clear it up, if you think it's okay, then go for it. If you don't think it's okay, stay away from it. I offered my opinion on it because I got a lot of emails from people that when they saw the sale come up had some questions about this lot and a number of other lots which we discussed last week. And since that video went up, nobody's really pushed back on the comments we made about the other pieces, but there's been a lot of people very upset about this, and I understand why. It potentially could sell for a lot of money if it's authentic. And the auction house obviously wants to sell it. Rob has made commitments to his consigners, which you have to do in this business, and I understand all of that. But again, this is an opinion. This is, and I said it repeatedly the other day. That's my opinion of the piece, and all I can tell you is, if you don't know enough to make up your own opinion on it, you probably don't want to be bidding on it. All right. And if you do know enough and you're convinced that it's okay, then knock yourself out. Go ahead and buy it. Try to buy it. Okay. That is how the auction market works. I've stated my position on it because I was asked by a bunch of people about that vase in particular and a number of the other lots, which I also commented on and gave my thoughts. And that's just the reality of it, okay? And this is not unusual in this business, that you have discussions and arguments and debates about authenticity, age. Is it an 18th century piece? Is it a 15th century piece? These are the kind of things that happened, and these happen all the time. All right. And my view is my view, and it doesn't mean it is not set in stone. None of this stuff is ever set in stone. Every dealer has had things that they've sold that have been copies that they thought were authentic. They've had pieces that they thought were inauthentic and turned out later to be authentic and got sold elsewhere, and they lost out on maybe making a large amount of money even. Happens. It happens. All right. But the bottom line here for me is, it's up to you as a buyer. All right, and if you feel comfortable in chasing this thing down, then go ahead and do it. Now, as for the pieces that are original in this that I've been showing in the background here as I've been talking, just to illustrate the point a little bit, I'm gonna remove the pieces that are not authentic and show you the pieces that were, and this will maybe help illustrate the problem. This vase right here is a brand new copy that was sold. This vase is a brand new copy that was sold. This vase is a brand new copy that was sold. This vase is authentic and it was sold at Christie's. This vase is a brand new copy that was sold. All right, brand new, no age at all to it. This is another example of a brand new copy that was in an auction. All right, this is a Christie's example again that was sold, that was legitimate, and so forth. This is a pair of vases. These were copies as well. And they look very convincing. When you look at them, you think, boy, that's a pretty convincing looking Wan Li vase. This vase was brand new. And it was actually sold with another one. They were sold as a pair. All right. The other things that we looked at on the vase were the way the rain mark was drawn, just as an aside, and didn't like the way the mark was done. We found too many errors in it. Now, is it possible that it had errors in it if it was a period vase? Absolutely. Some days the artist that did the marks was just making a mess of it, and that can happen. He was having a bad day. He overglazed the head of the vase, has too much glaze on it, in our opinion, and other things. Entirely possible. But in my mind, if I have more than 10% doubt, I don't buy. And some people will buy with a 50-50 confidence. Some people will buy with a 10% confidence. It's entirely up to you and how you proceed. But I just wanted everybody to understand my position. I have nothing against Rob personally. I like him. I like his auctions. But I think that on a number of the lots here that they've let into the sale, they probably shouldn't have. All right. And I went through them in my other video, and that's all I really have to say on the matter. All right. So that's behind us, and let's move on to the regular weekly video. Okay. Here we go. So here we go. We're going to start over on eBay to see how it did last week. There were a lot of stuff on there, as many of you know. We for some reason, this has been a very rapid upsurge in stuff on eBay, and we've been finding more and more things. For a while, it was very quiet, and for some reason, it's coming back, and I hope it continues. But at any rate, here we are. The first thing that we're going to talk about is this. Another one of these nice little moon flasks came up for sale. It wasn't a very big one. It was about 8 or 9 inches in height. Nicely done turquoise ground, figural scenes. It looked like it was in good shape. And it sold right about where these smaller vases with more typical colors sold right at $705, which is about right. The fancier ones, the ones with more unusual coloring, frog in my throat there. Sometimes bring this price if they have elaborate coloring, like we saw a couple of pieces at Bonham's or Christie's, notably a few months ago. A pair of them brought $7,000, $6,000. But this is a more typical vase. Nicely done, though. Nicely done. Good quality work all the way up, and $705. All right, and then over here to this, the little iron red and underglazed blue teapot. This was a nice little teapot. They had a couple of frits on it, and that was it. Nothing wrong with it. Probably Qin-Lung period from what I'm seeing here. Good enameling all the way around. Nicely potted snow white body. Beautifully fitted lid. Looks all original. And somebody picked this up, I think, very inexpensively. $206. That was a great buy. That was a great buy. Normally these mugs, or teapots rather, sell in the $300 to $450 range. Sometimes they bring more if they're earlier and very elaborate. And this was a fairly elaborate one, so I'm a little surprised it didn't bring more. But somebody got a good buy. I hope it was one of you. Like I said, always leave a bid, leave a bid, leave a bid, leave a bid. And then the Fitzhugh Armorial Tureen that's been up for, the seller put it up, Miguel Larry had this up, and we covered it through 2 videos. I think we had it in 2 videos because the way he scheduled his auctions ran 10 days, which covered 2 Fridays. So good on him. At any rate, it did well at the end, and we thought it would. It brought $918. But this was a very good example, a really finely worked piece, beautifully enameled, very fine detail all the way around. If you look at it carefully, you look at the work in here, it's really quite exceptional. And these nice strap handles, I think one of them has had a repair to it, but that was about it. And $918. Good looking piece of export ware. First half of the last half of the 18th century rather. They made these, well, it could have been made anytime between 1790 and about 1820. That pattern remained popular for about 3 decades. All right, and then over here to this, the fish form or vase form. I call them fish forms. If you put a head on it, it looks like a fish. Lacquer jars. These were nice and rather unusual for their shape. The detail work was good. The colors look good. These were done in the 19th century. They've got some sort of mark on the bottom. You can't really read it. He should have put in a picture of the mark with some detail or just a single shot of it. He didn't bother, but anyway, these are nice. It was a procession of the boys with the dragons for the Dragon Festival. Very nicely done. This sold for $1,034 for the pair. $1,034, not bad. And then the Chinese export silver, good-looking service, including the tongs, which is a bit unusual. And this is also from Miguel Larry. I didn't look up the mark on it, but of course you can look up the marks over on the reference section and see who made it. But somebody picked up a nice-looking set with these bamboo-style handles and spouts. Nice work on the body, some good, gentle repoussé work here in relief. And this looks like there's a little stippling on the ground. Let's see. Yeah, it's all stippled. This was a very nice service. And somebody picked it up for $1,716, which is in the range. We've seen these services before. This is a late 19th, early 20th century set, and they typically sell in the $1,500 to $2,200 range, $2,500 sometimes. If it's by a very famous maker and is a bit elaborate, maybe a custom order, then they can bring $4,000, $5,000, $6,000. They can go up a lot. And the iron red and underglazed red and underglazed blue dragon snuff bottle. This is an old bottle. This was a nice bottle. Whoever got it, one of you got this. This is a mid 1800s example. Good decoration on it all the way around. And as you know, underglazed red is a tricky material to work with in the kilns. And here they were pretty successful with it. There's a little bit of blue at the bottom. I think on one side that shows a wave. Well, a little bit of it sort of creeps up into the wave. And there's a blue ring at the top. So it's got the 2 colors. They managed to pull it off. And I think it went reasonably. $356 for the snuff collector. That was a good buy. These kinds of bottles from a specialty seller, from a retail shop, would sell for between probably $450 and $600. So somebody got a good buy on that. That was a nice thing to buy. And this was sort of a strange thing. I just threw this in because I liked it. I liked his expression. It's a Buddhist monk, watercolor, and it is signed. I don't know who did it. Let's see here. Who did this? It was, let's see here. He was a Burmese high priest, 82 in Rangoon. Nicely done. And they have the name of the artist on here, and somebody paid $406 for it. It's a nice looking picture. It's a 20th century painting, I'm assuming. Certainly looks it. Not taken out of the frame. Nice quality. It is right. It is good quality. Very attractive. And it's got the name of the artist and identifies the sitter. And there he is. There's a face for you. All right. And then over here to this, the little Kangxi covered jar. Nicely decorated. The top of it looks pretty good. I like the aquatic creatures all over it. Lots of fish swimming around on top of it. Good looking enameling. A little bit of chipping in the enamels here and there. Not unusual on these, but the rest of it looked pretty good. The rest of it looked fine. And somebody picked it up for $651, which is right in the range that these typically go for. They just listed it as 18th century, but it looks like a Kangxi example to me, from what I'm seeing. Maybe, it could be early Qianlong, but I don't think so. It looks like a Kangxi pot. All right, and the needlework. Nice bit of blind stitching here of two figures in a landscape scene, blossoming flowers and trees and all that typical stuff that you like to see. And it's got this little rope sort of frame around it. So I guess you can hang it on this. I like that. That's nice. And it's 19th century, two characters in a garden scene. That's all he said. And somebody got it for $138. And this was from Stanmore House Antiques. They're located over in the UK. They sell on eBay quite a bit. They're pretty active sellers. And there are all the images. There it is. There's the back of it with the string up and so forth. This was a nice thing, and it was decent size. It was 12 inches tall, just a little under 12 inches tall. It was 27 centimeters, so that's about 10 or so inches. So it wasn't a tiny thing like a purse. It was pretty good size. And it pays to read the dimensions. Always read the dimensions, because sometimes images, when they're done, if they don't put something in the picture to give you a sense of scale of how big it is, often pretty good sized things sell for small amounts of money because not enough people bother to look up the size. So always check sizes on things, and sometimes you get a surprise. It's nice. And this sold. This was a good buy. It was a very nice early Qianlong export dish. There it is. It's got the foot rim of a Kangxi plate, though. That's sort of interesting. I don't think this is. He says it's Qianlong. I don't think it is. I think this is a Kangxi dish, judging by the enamels. This was nice underglazed blue, and that foot, that ivory foot, sure looks Kangxi to me. And somebody picked it up for $120. That was a good buy. He dated it as 1740. So very early Qianlong period, I guess, is what he was thinking. It's possible, of course, but my view is that it looks more like a Kangxi example to me. But there we are. And then over here, that big silk. A lot of people were watching this thing. This was a beautiful piece of silk work. Wonderfully done dragons, very finely detailed. This was a really nice piece of silk. And it jumped up. It was up to $18,000 or so in the first couple of days it was online. And this is why. This was a really nice piece of work, and it looked like it was an outstanding edition. But if you look at these silk pieces, and there's lots of gold thread on them, always check to see how finely done the gold thread is, because the gold thread in this example was really well done. And they even did some shading on the hairs coming off of his head. The facial expression, very 18th century in its execution. The way the dragons are depicted, very typical of 18th century work. This was a really fine piece. And how did he date it? Did he date it? He didn't even date it? No, he just put in the size, 51 by 41 inches. There he goes, fine 18th century antique silk. Okay, he did put it in. Ended up selling for $20,288. But it was a beautiful example, and silks, and this was from YZ Morris over out in California, out in San Diego. These silks have been doing so well. It's really amazing. They seem to be one of the most resilient categories in the Chinese art market. No matter what, the silks have collectors out there. They're like clock collectors. They're fairly aggressive. And then you had this was a 6-inch tall apple green crackleware vase with brown dressing. You look at the bottom, and this is the bottom of a 19th century vase. Looks fine to me. Nice little bottle. Didn't bring the world. Let's see here. It brought $463, and it was a nice little vase. Apple green. Especially Kangxi ones, but later, are always of interest to collectors. There are monochrome collectors out there that love apple greens and yellows. This is one of the really popular colors. Of course, they like copper reds and flambe glazes, but it's a separate group that likes these apple green examples. It's nice looking. And then the fisherman there was the fisherman and a repairman, and these were just provincial watercolors. They're late 19th century, maybe early 20th, but I think late 19th. And here's one of a meat dealer. He's got his little rack set up there, and he's selling sides of pork and goat and one thing and another. And this isn't high art, but it's funky. And I always like stuff like this. It's always like folk art, and you can imagine his life, trying to make his money selling fish and meat on the streets. And somebody picked this up very reasonably, $66. And this was from a seller over in Dorchester in England. I think these were really wonderful. I hope whoever bought them both. Get them in some nice frames. And I think they look great on a wall somewhere in a den or kid's bedroom or something. Be fun. And then the rank badge, and the seller of this just called it, I think, a silk panel or something. But this is like a sixth rank or fifth rank. I have to look it up. I always get the birds mixed up. Civilian rank badge, nicely done. It had a little bit of fading in it. The moon here would have been a little bit redder, probably originally, but the reds, everything but the blues, are very susceptible to fading and sunlight. They're highly reactive. So if this thing was anywhere near a sunny window for more than a month in its life, it's going to start to fade. It's just the nature of the beast. Always keep your silks away from direct sunlight, no matter what. All right, and in spite of all that, they called it a Chinese tapestry, art framed, Qing Dynasty. Silk embroidery, $521, which is right where it should have been. If the colors were stronger and brighter, if you see one of these out there and you're looking around and you see one that has stronger, brighter colors, it's worth about double that. All right, the prices go up as the colors get more original and stronger because people like them that way. And we've seen them in the past where these rank badges have come up for sale that were, 19th century badges that look like they've never been out of a drawer. They always do very, very well. And then the 18th century Qianlong, a figural scene, a landscape lady on a shore greeting somebody coming over in a boat. It's a charming little scene. Nicely done. The back of it looks okay. Good enameling all the way through. I don't see a lot of wear on it. This plate was in good condition. And somebody picked it up for $225. It was about 9 inches in diameter, but very attractive. Nicely done. Very nicely done. And the Buddha. We've all been watching this Buddha because for some reason, people love to know what Buddhas sell for. And this was one that we've seen before. It was made by the Jingjichen Porcelain Company. It's got the maker's stamp on the bottom. These were produced in enormous numbers. They made lots of these. A number of years ago, I was in a house that had about 20 of them. You went a little wild with the Buddhas. And they come in varying sizes from, 5 or 6 inches in height all the way up to, 10 or 12 inches. This was a good size one. And I think it went reasonably. In the past, we've seen them sell for $1,500, $1,800, sometimes even more. This one went for $1,175. So there you are. And then you got some stuff coming up. That sort of finishes up the results. There was more, of course. There were a lot of sales last week. I can't get over it. But there's a bunch of things that are getting ready to come up this week. And guess what? We've got another Buddha. It's got 9 days to go. And this is one of the ones with the children on it. All the kids climbing all over them. Again, here's the base. Very similar mark on it. This should bring more than the last one. This should bring 1,500 to 1,800 because it's got the kids in it. And they're all in good shape. It doesn't look like they've been decapitated or anything. And there you go. A nice looking Buddha. Nice figure. And sitting out, it looks like he's sitting out in the snow. I don't know where is this seller? Oh, Colorado, of course. Okay, I was going to say, where's all that snow? And then a Mandarin platter. This is Room Tonic's got this. This is the seller down in Marblehead, not far from here. I know the guy, nice man. And he's got this. He's got another oval platter. He deals in a lot of export wares. He gets good things. He's got a nice store in Marblehead, actually, too, with his wife. And this is a nice platter. Back of it looks fine. It's unglazed, a little bit gritty, the way they were. They made them this way. But overall, the platter looks to be in very, very nice condition. Let's see here. It's up to $204. It just went up till last night. It's only been up for 1 day. It's already up to $200. And these platters have been getting a lot of interest lately. For some reason, these elaborate Mandarin platters have been showing some interest among, I think, maybe decorators or something. I don't know. It's 13 inches in length. Nice little platter. Should bring $400 or $500. We'll see. We'll see. And then over to this, the Chinese Kengshi Romance of the Western Chamber type plate. This is Joni's up in Canada. They have a bunch. They have a lot of stuff up right now, Joni's. There's a bunch of things that are sungwares that people have been asking about, and I took a look at them, and I'm not sure all of them are sung. I'll just leave it there. I didn't have the time really. We had a lot going on this week, as some of you know, and I didn't really have a good chance to take a look at all of this stuff. Joni's get some good things, and they get some questionable things once in a while. That's the way it is. And but that's up to what's that up to? $112. It's got 9 days to go. It'll do much better than that. It should get up to the $500 or $600 range. It's a good looking piece of porcelain. And then these are interesting. A couple of they have them dated as 17th century, very old Chinese, and they are old. Did they put in the dimensions? Did they bother putting in the size? This drives me crazy. You write a listing, you don't pull out a tape measure. Hold on a second. Let's see here. Nope, no dimensions. Oh well, how big are they? That's the question. Well, let's take a look at the background where they are. They look like they're about 7 or 8 inches tall, I would guess. If they're taller than that and you're the seller, well, put the dimensions in. But they look like they're between 7 and 9 inches tall each, and these were probably made in Sichuan, judging by the paste on the bottom, this pottery bottom that they have. Nicely glazed. They're very reminiscent of Feiwa ware, that turquoise glaze, but unglazed faces with just a little bit of dressing on them to darken them up. And there's 2 guys heading down the road. Is he carrying a fish? Yeah, I think they're out gathering up stuff. Nice looking figures though. These are old. I agree that they are very old. They're probably 17th or early 18th century. Beautifully done. And they look like they're in good shape. If you like funky statues, these are good. These close on Sunday. They'll be on the newsletter page this week. All these things will be on the newsletter page. And they're up to $52. They ought to bring $300 or $400. We'll see what happens next week. All right, and then the Quanzhong glaze a porcelain hat stand. It's been drilled, but it has an inscription on it, and that makes a big difference on these. There it is, fully inscribed all the way around. It's a late Qing example, nicely decorated. Does have a hole in the bottom because somebody decided to lamp it probably back in the 20s or the 30s, but nicely done. Nice Quanzhong work on it. And this is a sort of a special group of ceramic these days, and it's got one bid. It's up. Apparently, it had an opening bid of $500. This is Jason Antiques, the seller down in Connecticut, has this up. Not a bad piece of porcelain. That's pretty good. And then the Rockefeller pattern plate. This is coming up. This closes in 9 days. It's a platter. It's a nice one. Let's see, who has this? US 213 Haru has this, and it's big. This is 18 inches, 17 3/4. The platter is 18 1/4. What does that mean? Size is 17 3/8. This platter is 14.5 by 18.5. So it's about 18 inches long. I think he got a little confused when he was doing his listing. This is a nice piece of nice Rockefeller pattern plate, and it's a platter, and it's enormous. These are very desirable, as you know. What's nice about it is it looks like the gilding in it around the rim. We always look at the gilding on these kinds of plates because they tend to be very susceptible to wear, and these don't seem to have any wear. Not much, tiny bits. And the scene in the middle is beautifully painted, as these always are. Rockefeller pattern plates are always beautifully decorated. It's up to $455 in the first day. It should bring $2,000 or $3,000, but we'll see. But it's a huge platter. And these big platters of the 18th and 19th century, the export variety, the bigger platters lately have been bringing lots of money. I think we're going to see one in a minute. This was over on Live Auctioneers that brought over a couple of $1,000 this past week. And then this is something Joni's has. It's a Celadon incense burner. It appears to be 16th century, early 16th century Ming type. Nice color. It's up to $370. Closes on Monday. Ought to get up to about $1,800 by the time it's done, plus or minus a little bit. And then the silk hanging embroidered landscape scene. This is neat. It's done like a horizontal scroll with a painting on it. And this way they did it in silk, and I think it's absolutely lovely. I like the characters and all the figures on it. I like the pine tree. The way they sort of did these sort of dazzling pine needles up here at the top. See if they have a detail shot. There's a red-headed crane, and the silk looks like it's in beautiful shape too. There's a guy doing his poling in his boat. They didn't show a good picture of the pine trees, but they look very interesting the way they did them, and the colors are nice. Colors are still very strong on this. This has been taken care of. It's up to $315. It's got a couple of days to go. It ends on Sunday. It'll be on the newsletter page, and expected to bring between probably $600 and $800, something like that. And then there was this, just as this is something that closes in a couple of days. Also, there's quite a bit of nice little bits of Famille Rose Mandarin pieces. If you collect Mandarin pattern and stuff, you want to check out the newsletter page this week. I think there's going to be quite a few pieces of it. All right, and then moseying along over to the live auctioneers and the global member page results. They had a pretty good week, and those of you that were following the Brunk sale saw some pretty nice things sell. They had a nice a bunch of armorial wares come up. I'm going to get to them in a minute. This was a bowl that I think was fabulous, and I think somebody got an absolute steal on it. 12.5 inches in diameter, probably Yongchen period to early Qianlong, beautifully decorated basin. This is just such a pretty piece of porcelain, and it looks like it's in outstanding condition. I don't see anything wrong with it. Maybe there was in the condition report or something, but boy, this is a heck of a nice looking piece of porcelain. If one of you got a condition report, leave a comment on it and tell me, because this seemed to go awfully inexpensively for what it is. It was estimated $1,000 to $1,500, and it went for just $800. That was short money. This is the kind of bowl that in some sales can bring $2,000 or $3,000 because the colors are so pleasing, and it's big. It's technically a charger because of its size. And then over here to this was this transitional ware. I think they had misdated this or something, as I recall, or they didn't date it at all. This was at Stair. This is a transitional ware jar, beautifully done. Had a very low estimate, $600 to $800. Everybody knows they bring more than that. And this one went for $2,600 plus the premium, so up around $3,000. That's exactly about where it should have. These have turned up in shipwrecks. This particular jar, very nicely done. Beautiful, soft cobalt blue. And it had its original lid, which is almost a miracle these days, because so many of these jars have turned up and they don't have lids. And then there was the Kangxi period goo form vase. It had some fritting, had some little nicks and bumps down at the bottom and so forth and up top. But it was a nice vase. We talked about it in the Global Members video a couple of weeks ago when this auction was still getting posted. And I told everybody it's going to bring a lot more than the estimate. The estimate was very low, $800 to $1,200. Ended up selling for $7,000. The way these beakers do, people just love these beakers. And if one comes up that's got nice coloring and strong colors, if this were in absolutely perfect condition, without the nicks and chips on it, it probably would have brought $10,000 or $12,000. All right, and then there was a whole bunch of great armorial ware. This was one of the more expensive pieces. Bissey of Somerset and Durham, 1730s, Yongchen period armorial plate. Very, very nice, 11 inches in diameter, sold for $4,000 plus the premium. So you're up around $5,000 for this plate. But beautiful quality, and these English armorial pieces have a lot of people interested in them. The artwork is so good. And what they represent. You can look up, if you collect them, you can learn about the family that ordered them, who they were, what was their role in history, if any. Many of them had worked within the government and whatnot. And this is a nice looking piece of porcelain. I like the alternating patterns they go between white and bronze, white and bronze, white and bronze, all the way around the outside. Nice looking example. And then over here was the rest of the Brunk stuff. I just wanted to give you some idea how much there was. This was all on the global pages. And I think one of our users, I had an inquiry on the identification assistant the other day from somebody that said he bought the armorial books. And I wonder if these are the Howard books he bought. They ended up going for $950, which is a lot of money, but it's not a lot of money for those. In the past, we've seen them sell for a lot more. Back in the 90s, that set was selling for those books were selling for $1,500 a piece. But there seem to be fewer export collectors, though I think there's starting to be some interest in it, judging by the prices I'm seeing on some of these porcelains down at Brunk's. But this was a good sale. Brunk's has been on a roll lately, getting some pretty good Chinese things. They had that nice sale a couple of months ago that did so well, and a lot of you guys bought at that sale, and you got nice things. Good auction. One of the pieces that was sold was this. It was this lozenge-shaped sort of leaf-form blue and white dish. I've had these over the years. I've had a number of these. These are very nice. They're interesting. They have sort of funny feet on them, and let's see if they show any more of it. There it is. Oh, this one doesn't have the little feet. This one has actually a regular round foot rim. Sometimes they put little feet on them, little applied feet. This was nice, though. This went through Sotheby's at one point. Nicely decorated, 18th century work, right? And ended up selling for $3,750 plus premium. They're fairly rare. And they're usually pretty good size. How big is this? It was a foot long. Yeah, it was a good size piece of porcelain. It wasn't, a 5 or 6 inch dish. And then there was this Femi-Vert Kangxi period can with a make-do handle added onto it and a silver top. And this is a cool thing. Nice piece of porcelain, very fine quality with good silver work on it. And but these, for some reason, the buyers in China have no interest in these at all. So if you see these pieces with silver mounted on them, generally it's just going to be you against a Western collector for them. Because there's no interest for the most part in among most Chinese collectors for these. And there you have it. Let's see, it is 900 silver. There you go. So it's a later mount. It's a 20th century mount, but it was beautifully done. And then over here to this, a pair of Wilson and Farquhar mugs. This was a fantastic buy. Early or mid 18th century export mugs with heraldic crests on them for both of them. Got the pair, got the two. They're not really a pair, of course, but they're two of them for $650 plus premium. So you ended up paying around what does that work out to? About $375 a piece. Not bad at all. And the mustard pot. This I talked about last week. This is a very rare form. Heirlooms and Howard Limited sold it originally. They're major dealers, and it was in the collection of Christopher Weld at one point, who I knew. He lived up here. He had a very nice collection of Chinese art, and this is a very, very nice mustard pot. Ended up selling for just $400, a $100 to $300 estimate. This was a nice thing, and this was down at Brunk's. And also at Brunk's was the Armorial Bromley mug. This was an elegant mug. And they wrote fairly extensively about Bromley of Horseheath Hall and Holt Castle and 1705 and who he married and all that great stuff. And very, very nice bit of porcelain. And this also came from Christopher Weld. He was a big English armorial collector. He had quite a collection, a massive collection. And he was an avid fan. But this was a nice mug. Very, very nice mug. And it went for $500. So there you go, plus premium. So everything is good. And that's sort of it. There's some big sales coming up in March that we're going to be talking about at Christie's and Sotheby's and so forth and Bonhams. And we're going to have the Lally sale. Jim Lally's selling some stuff. I understand he's got a few lots that are going to be at Christie's. And a bunch of lots are going to be at Bonhams. Because he's closed his store and he's auctioning off some of his inventory, it sounds like, and some of his reference library. I've mentioned this before. If you're a book buyer, to learn about Chinese art, you got to buy books. That's all there is to it. You can't learn it all off the internet. And Jim Lally probably has some outstanding books. And he used them. He was very avidly involved with studying, from what I know, and it should be a good collection. So if you have areas of special interest, you might want to keep that in mind. And then when the auction comes up, go over and check it out. It's going to be with Bonhams in New York in March. So that about covers it. All right. Have a great week. Have a great weekend, and we go on from here. And good luck out there. Thanks for watching. Subscribe if you haven't so far. Leave a comment. And thanks again. All right. Bye-bye.